Hi, everyone. This is Tina Fox, creator and CEO of TERN Mentoring, and I am here with an old friend, Randall Belknap. We actually know each other from our very first job out of school. We also happen to share a birth date, so we have a lot in common outside of the fact that we bleed purple. You can tell by his uniform today that even though he's on the job, he's still bleeding purple. But I wanted to bring on my friend Randall because he is an amazing mentor to many people. And Randall had this idea a while back and he mentioned it to me. And since then, so many others have been inspired by his goal. So Randall, here we are, dare I say, at our half-century mark. And you made an announcement about some of the things that you want to do differently or aspire to in the second half of life. And so you're living your legacy like nobody lives a legacy. And I wanted you to share with the TERN audience as to what was it that you mentioned about a personal goal that had to do with mentorship. And can you tell us a little bit about why that goal?
Sure. Thanks, Tina. I'm almost 3 years into that second century. So the idea of my Nifty 50 or 50/50 started on December 6, 2020, which is that birthday we share. And the mentoring of 50 young professionals was born on our birthday, if you will, as I sat in Bridgewater, Virginia with a football cake that had a 49 and a 1 because we couldn't go get a 0 and a 5 for 50. So, but I started to reflect on the things that I've done, but also the things I still wanted to do. So I took pen to paper and started jotting down a list of 50 things I would do 50 of, like 50 states or visiting 50 countries. And number 23 on the list was mentoring 50 young professionals. The last one on that list is that I've got the book. I just to double check it is, and I'll present this back to you, Tina. Is number 50 of that list is find friends to do the challenge with. So it's finding those to multiply this out and go in directions. But I started to reflect in terms of the amazing journey that I've had the opportunity to live and work, but then also all the opportunities that I felt like I needed to share. And so that's where it started from. And so I did a reflection back in terms of all of my coaching experience and management experiences, even before we got into the professional world. But I drew that line that the 50 count started essentially when we both got out of school. So 1995 is when it started. So since that date, there's 17 members of my list. So I've got quite the list still to go. But then get a chance to meet with you and find out what you're doing with TERN Mentoring, and it became just a natural match to me to continue my one of my 50 lists. So it's kind of how it started.
Well, we love the fact that you are a mentor with TERN Mentoring. Now, you obviously are a natural mentor. You've been doing this since you graduated from JMU. I love to say that we find a way to serve our younger selves, and we're very equipped to do so because we've lived a life, we've had experiences. Like most people, but unlike you, there aren't folks that maybe feel like they are natural to mentorship. So what would you say to folks who have life experiences, have work experiences, have gone before, and are a little shy to this concept of becoming a mentor? Do you have any advice for those individuals?
Yeah, I mean, my personal experience is that I learned quickly, kind of early on, that I mean, everyone knows who Michael Jordan is, right? And so, arguably one of the best basketball players ever. But most people don't know who his coach was. So it's Phil Jackson, and that Phil won a championship as a player, but then won 10 as a coach. And I didn't find myself as ever being a Michael Jordan, but I certainly find myself as a Phil Jackson. And so it's being able to to mentor those. As I even still recruit, folks. I mentioned meeting a former roommate at the Hotel Madison last week. I'll leave his name out to protect the innocent, but even recruiting mentors, it's giving them the confidence that you have something amazing to give back. But even what I find selfishly is I get something from each one of my experiences with my mentees, and it's amazing in terms of the interaction you have, and how well they're prepared, what they want to talk about, how hungry they are to make an impact in the business world. And it's very rewarding It's an area where you're not doing it because there's a financial impact. You're doing it because you're giving back, but you're also sharpening your own tools to expand in the future. So it's really a cool experience. I wish more people would realize what they can do with it. And so, like I said, I'll recruit one at a time to continue to find, I guess, 50 mentors to go with the 50 mentees. So I guess the list is already growing. So.
Well, we love that idea. Now, some folks may not feel like they're at Phil Jackson level, but I think that you've created a very compelling reason as to how this can sharpen your saw. Do you have any specific examples in all of your mentoring where, there's this concept of reverse mentorship, right? In mentoring others, whether they're peers, but there's also an opportunity to mentor up. So sometimes we find mentees have a great impact on their mentors because they're coming from a different space. They're coming from a different level. They're coming from a different time in life. So is there anything specifically that you've learned in all of your mentoring that you're like, you know what, this was a great value to me as a mentor, hence why you keep doing this?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, early on in our days of Wallace, I was going back and doing recruiting. And so at that point, I was really kind of in touch with what was the students' mindset, skill set, because I was barely one of them, a few years later. Now it's 20 plus years later, I can't even count them. It's allowed me to be in touch with what is changed in terms of, and now, especially now, post-pandemic, what has really changed in terms of how people interact by way of, Zoom, as well as also, in person. So it's allowed me to even help with our corporate recruiting because it's understanding how different the mindset is coming out of school. I think a reflection point for me was a mentee that I wanted an internship program at Checkmarx, and so I set aside some funding and identified a brilliant young lady. She's not a JMU grad, but that's okay. I don't hold it against it to her. But she became an intern for us. But then all of a sudden I realized the fact this is someone that I want to be able to, mentor and bring into the company. Now she doesn't work directly for me. And I think that's kind of one of the rules that I kind of set along the way is I don't define a mentee as someone that, reports to me or I manage, if you will. Now they could have been someone I used to manage that I'm now, their point of validation. I have mentees that call me going, hey, I'm looking at this job opportunity. What do you think? Or what do you think of this company, type of thing. And so that literally happened last week. I had a guy that hadn't, seen in probably 4 years. So, it's a reflection from that standpoint. That particular intern, then now mentee, was a sociology major, was moving into sales, and really some of our one-on-one conversations was just being able to help her reflect on some of her skill sets she really didn't even know she had. And even then she was like, I can't even get a job, if you will, as a sociology major, and what she wanted to do. Well, she just hit me up last week with her not a resume, but her PowerPoint presentation of why she needs to be promoted into the field sales organization, because she's done such an amazing job as a SDR, entry level, sales development rep. I had to basically just kind of blown away the fact of it. She was like, you gave me the confidence, but you also gave me the coaching that to not really, take instructions without being able to question why, but also to be able to put your best foot forward. And so yeah, I was then challenged to put that PowerPoint, an executive in the company's hands, going, we have tremendous talent in this company, and here's an example. And so I thought that was really interesting. Another one that this happened on in our program last year was when I started talking about the 50-50 or my 50 list, was another mentor on the group Zoom call that reached out wanting to be a mentee to me. So I was another mentor wanting to kind of join in my food chain or ecosystem, which it was really kind of taken back. It's very rewarding when the fact is people think, of you that perspective. And so that's really kind of, so there's just along the way, those are little rewards that you just don't even think about until you kind of sit back and process what people say or what they do.
That's a full circle moment. I had no idea. Thanks for sharing that little tidbit at the end. First of all, I think it's wonderful that you were inspiring someone's confidence so that she then would build a PowerPoint and go for something that she may not have gone for had she not have had those conversations with you. So I firmly believe that part of mentorship is just communicating with another person in a very real way that does help further build confidence in an individual, because we're always so used to being surrounded by people that we work with, our bosses, our peers. If you're a collegiate person, maybe your parents and professors, but having this extra person or professional like you to further instill that confidence, what a boost. I just think that's great. But just getting back to that full circle moment, Randall, of you've got a mentor seeking your mentorship. So, I love that concept because I too, as a mentor, seek mentors because we're all at different areas of growth in our life. And when you're lacking something and you see somebody who, may already be performing at that level, you seek out their mentorship. So it's a never ending process. Now, that's something we are trying to do with TERN, right? Is take the collegiate set, give them an opportunity to partner with someone like yourself. Through that, hoping that they build the confidence, the skills, they learn something, and then when they graduate, maybe come back in as a mentor themselves to continue that cycle. I'm just curious, you've already been mentoring, you do it so naturally. Why did you choose to then partner up with TERN Mentoring? I know you said it was a natural alignment, but now that you're a part of it, other than us knowing each other for a long time,
Sure.
birthdays, what is it about TERN that you might tell people?
Sure. Well, first of all, I really feel it's almost an honor that you allow me to do it. I think that's the one of the coolest parts. But I thought about this, from the standpoint is the a mentor program in general needs to have, because I've been a part of several. I'm part of one now, even at work. I'm mentoring a colleague overseas in the UK. And the difference, the two programs, it's very loose, it's very unstructured. In my corporate world, it's not as effective as what I've found experience with TERN is the fact is having structure, but having accountability. I think one thing, even talking to my mentee last night, she's back off the road. She's crazy awesome in volleyball, Jamie volleyball team. I couldn't believe who I got matched up with because we
I love that.
part of my JMU tours. I now go to all the sporting events, not just football and basketball. So I was going to volleyball games when I had a chance to meet Mia. So, but the one area that I really see that I think that TERN's doing a great job is you mentioned. I'm not looking for one relationship or one mentee or even one mentor. I have multiple mentors to me who I recognize. I don't know that I give them a business card and put a name on it and say, "Hi, you're my mentor." But the scalability of being able to do more than just a one-on-one interaction, I think that's something that I saw great value in what you guys are doing. And oh, by the way, the affiliation with the Purple and Gold School wasn't too bad of a deal either. I mean, it's because part of when my wife Amy and I moved back to Harrisonburg in 2020, it was figuring out how we could get back involved in the university. And so there's so many ways that you can do it, but the one area that really came down to the area that I wanted to be able to be involved in was with the students. The universities quickly would be willing to take some money and be able to go do things with it. The College of Business allowed me to even shape what we donated into the interview process within the College of Business, which is kind of funny that if you do an interview virtually, there's 3 rooms on the first floor of College of Business. And those 3 rooms have my name, Amy's name, and our last name. So that's how we gave back, because that's the first exposure to that. So
check that out. I didn't know that. Is it in Hartman or in Shoker?
Yeah, it's Hartman.
Okay, I'll go check that out next time I can.
But again, I think the work that you've done with your team is amazing in terms of the structure, but also the professional level of it. I mean, you could have launched out beta this and that and not be professional, but it's very well done. So kudos to you. Matter of fact, when I was talking to Mia yesterday, I was talking about the program and how it's kind of its inception, and she was kind of blown away. She had no idea. She thought that was just the way it was. That's the way that the university, it's part of the structure. So you've done good. It's mapped well.
Well, thank you, Randall. So you talked about, which is such an important thing for, I think, any university, JMU or otherwise. You've got a large alumni population that's out there that may not necessarily, like you, have moved back to the hometown of the university. And they're off, doing their jobs, raising their families. They might even have kids in other universities. What would you say to alumni as far as plugging back in? You've done an excellent job in doing that with JMU. How do you better plug in? Where do you think TERN could serve the alumni if they're not in Harrisonburg, or if they're like super busy, and maybe they don't necessarily, have $1 million to donate to a new wing of the building? Everybody's got to start somewhere, right? That's the goal is the talent and treasure. And as we're all working towards the treasure part, what would be your recommendation to alumni who want to plug back in?
And this happens on a pretty regular basis. Is alumni plugging back in? They don't wait until your kid's getting ready to apply to schools, and that seems to be the ones that shows up at my doorstep, going, "Hey, can you talk to me about JMU?" Or, "Hey, can you introduce me to such and such?" Or, "How much does it cost to?" And I was like, "No, you can't do that. It's you gotta get in on your own merit." But their students or their future students, they quickly come to me now going, "Hey, you're the local guy here. What do you think?" And advice there. You're right. There's 100 and some thousand, active. I think it's 153,000 living alumnus of JMU, and very small percent have our opportunity to interact with the university. I think as I talk to former fraternity brothers, team members, and stuff, is they don't realize how how big of an impact they can make with how little to touch, in terms of, and even within the TERN program, it's outlined. The fact is as little as what 6 sections of 30 minutes each. Unfortunately, my mentees don't get that; they get a lot more.
I had no doubt.
Yeah, even Miet's she's got a 7 section. She's going to teach me all the rules of the volleyball games I've been going to. So that was the, like I said, she's learning from me. I'm learning something from her. So that work has a very natural match. And I think that's, even when people feel skittish about donating to the university, and they talk about every dollar is something they didn't have before. Every minute of time that you can give back to the university is one more minute they didn't have before. And so when those start to add up, it becomes very powerful what you can do. And I think it's even, it's kind of contagious. I mean, because then you have someone else talking about it, right? And what their experience was. And again, I get it. Not everyone had an amazing experience in college. I mean, it took 6 for me to get out of school. So I think I'm a year older than you, Tina, but I graduated a year after you. So, but
I was wondering how that worked. I just assumed that you were just having more fun than me. That's why you were able to.
Yeah, that's for another podcast or story, because that's there's a little Air Force involved with that. The reason why it took me a little longer, but nevertheless, I think that's the biggest hurdle that people have to overcome. Is the fact is as small as an impact of being able to commit to a time period. It's not even a commitment; it's a reward, I think. But not everyone feels that way. But there are a lot of us out there. I think it's just being able to get to those and recruit them to do so.
Well, I hope to find more Randall Belknaps. Like I told you, I said, working with the app developers, I told them we have to have a Randall section of because although we do one-to-one mentoring where the mentor only receives one mentee at a time for those 6 sessions, Randall's ready to offer more time to more people at the same time. And so we are in active development of the Randall portion of it. So thank you for that, Randall.
I'll have to share that with my daughter Carly. She graduated JMU 2022. The apple didn't fall far from the tree, because even now she has a corporate job doing computer programming. She is giving back. She is teaching and mentoring future musicians and the things that she does. And so, and she's got these big, large drum lines, drum corps flying all over the country to be able to work with, young musicians and stuff. So her story is amazing within itself, but at the same time, I think she just saw the way that that I work, my wife Amy, what she does and what she gives back to our community. That it becomes really kind of infectious. That you want to do more with it.
Well, we'll have to bring your daughter into the fold too, because one of the things I've learned is that the students love to meet with folks along any timeline after college. Sometimes the folks that have just recently graduated have more relative experience to what they're getting ready to enter into than some of us that have been out for a few decades. So having that continuum is really important. So we'll get her on board as a mentor at some point.
Absolutely.
That being said, I wanted to close with one last thing, and we try to always ask our mentors or our mentees. They've provided us with amazing mentorship moments. So with that, is there something that you've heard or maybe that you say to your mentees that you want to share with our audience as to a mentorship moment that could be memorable for them to hang on to?
I think I mentioned a little bit earlier in terms of the experience of what a mentee communicates to me of what it means to them. I think it's incredibly important, and I realized this kind of early on, even in my kind of management days, it's not a mentor to mentee relationship. It becomes a partnership in terms of their experience, their success, but also your experience and success. Like I said, I'm selfishly mentoring at this point because I'm trying to make myself better for the next experience that I have, or the next company I work for. And even then, younger mentee can be somewhat intimidated by the fact, like, if they go look at your LinkedIn profile and say, oh, wow, Randall's been in business for whatever, 3 decades, and all of a sudden they're intimidated. It's important to be able to put them at ease very early on. But it's also being able to make sure you give them great guidance. I think some of the feedback I've gotten is I tell real life stories. I tell them, how it was or what happened, and but then I challenge them to what do they think and get them what their experience was. We got down the path of talking about parking tickets one day, and that's just the fact is it was the eternal challenge of parking on campus at JMU. But I think that's the key point is and I think the fruit of the labor will be is does that mentee carry that torch forward? Do they become a mentor of the future, or even something different? And I kind of thought about this preparing for today is do they seek out other mentors? And I think about the fact is and I think you've not talked about this before is I don't have a single mentor. I have mentors. It's plural. And I have them in every element in my life, whether it's it's health and fitness, a social mentor, professional mentor, and I think that's really important that you're constantly looking for kind of guidance, if you will, from those that are surround you. They don't always have to have a label. Don't have to have a business card that says mentor, but it's just an overall concept. I think that you're bought into it. It really works well. I mean, this is the way I really don't know any different. Actually, it's kind of strange to think that way. But.
Well, you have a great curiosity and an even greater appetite to learn and to support. And we cannot thank you enough for being a mentor here at TERN Mentoring. For anybody who is interested in following in Randall's footsteps and maybe doing their own Nifty at 50, please, by all means, contact us at info@ternmentoring.com, and it's spelled TERN, mentoring.com, or you can check us out on the web at ternmentoring.com. We are currently at JMU supporting the JMU students and the JMU alumni, but of course, we're bringing in folks from all different universities too who believe in mentorship. They want to be plugged into a cool platform. So we've got folks from UCLA, Michigan State, Harvard, Clemson, Georgetown that are all participating with us. And we hope to get you connected not only with an awesome mentee, but also in our Mentors Forum. So thank you again, Randall. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today. And I'm Tina Fox with TERN Mentoring. We'll see you on the next Zoomcast. Take care.